So CM Punk was banned from mentioning AEW in his Raw promo, but he still managed to take a shot at his exes in Jacksonville at the end. Punk's Raw return promo was filled with Easter eggs. In fact, the first words out his mouth were an Easter egg. Then CM Punk basically laid out his next year of feuds, both in and out of WWE, in one single Raw promo. So while the AEW Supermarks took this as an opportunity to cry about PG Punk, Phil Brooks was actually dropping a lot of teases. Punk didn't quite drop a pipe bomb just yet, nor should he have. This was more of a Batman tracking device. And even though his Raw return promo was barely 6 minutes, he said a lot more than you think he did. CM Punk opened his Raw promo with a shout out to Bret Hart. Anybody who saw my viral Pipe Bomb Problem documentary streaming now knows that CM Punk is a Bret Hart supermark. Punk's latest masturbatory Bret Hart tribute were the opening lines, "Looks like hell froze over," which was almost the exact same opening line that Bret Hart used during his unlikely WWE Return promo in 2010. Coincidentally enough, Bret Hart's return promo was done to hurt the competition because TNT went head-to-head with WWE for the first time on Monday nights. And WWE wanted to crush its competition so bad that they mended fences with Bret Hart. This time around, WWE wants to crush AEW so bad that they mended fences with Cousin Phil. See, not everything about war has to be toxic. Some great friendships can be formed for the sole purpose of snapping your opponent's neck like a baby duck. Isn't that sweet? CM Punk's Raw return promo was peppered with references to his career-defining pipe bomb in 2011. While talking that talk about being the best in the world, CM Punk repeated his famous line on this microphone, in this ring. Then he waited for the fans to fill in the blank. And unfortunately, only about 10% of the arena knew the rest of the words. I guess it's been a while, and a couple of generations. All good, CM Punk finished the sentence with, "even on commentary." CM Punk made sure to mention the brass ring in his back pocket, also a nod to the pipe bomb promo when he spoke out against Vince McMahon's imaginary brass rings. While putting over his fans, CM Punk said that the voiceless found their voice. This was a callback to his Voice of the Voiceless nickname that he gave himself during that time. Remember, CM Punk is a storyteller, and he doesn't just say words to fill time like a pre-show or a Tony Khan announcement. Go back and watch CM Punk's pipe bomb promo. Just about everything he said paid off. He mentioned Paul Heyman. Paul came back that next year to manage the returning Brock Lesnar, whom Punk also name-dropped in the pipe bomb promo. Heyman teamed up with CM Punk that fall. CM Punk mentioned Colt Cabana. Colt was featured on camera before CM Punk's biggest match at Money in the Bank. Punk mentioned John Laurinaitis. Johnny Ace became an on-camera authority figure and a top heel in WWE for like 10 minutes. Punk mentioned The Rock. They paid it off with 2 matches less than 2 years later. Punk mentioned Stephanie McMahon, and back she came to form the authority with the doofus son-in-law Triple H. Punk's words, not mine. So these Easter eggs shouldn't be taken lightly. Cousin Phil is trying to tell you a story. Which, speaking of stories, CM Punk tried to add himself as a chapter in the book of Cody Rhodes. Punk made sure to make a Dusty Rhodes reference by saying, "An American dream once taught me, as long as you speak from the heart, you cannot go wrong." Punk's reference toward Dusty Rhodes was an obvious tease of a Cody Rhodes feud down the line. Cody publicly welcomed CM Punk back during his Raw promo, and Cody Rhodes is a leader in the clubhouse to be CM Punk's best feud. Not during this run, ever. Punk and Cody Rhodes became major stars because they do all the little things just as good, if not better than, they do the fundamentals in the ring. Punk and Rhodes are supreme storytellers who can play on the obvious elephant in the room of AEW. Punk may not be able to legally mention AEW, though he did reference them a couple times, we'll get to that. But Punk does not have to say the words All Elite Wrestling or Tony Khan in order to dog whistle to social media that he's standing on business and disrespecting his ops. Terms like Nepo Baby, Jacksonville, the minor leagues, Reseda, and even counterfeit bucks will legally get his point across more powerfully than if he said AEW. And Cody Rhodes, who remains close with the Young Bucks, could be the Young Bucks apologist. They'll want to be careful with that one. But this is one of the many stories Rhodes and Punk will tell, and I'll be back to count all those Easter eggs whenever that may happen. Punk also seemed to shout out DX and his seemingly new friendship with Paul Levesque. Shawn Michaels sang CM Punk's praises even before Punk got there. In a recent media call, and as Jungle Boy's bruises were healing from the brawl-in, HBK said he understood Punk, that there are similarities between the two, and he'd love to have CM Punk in NXT. Punk has a checkered past with Triple H, but they were virtually the only two people who knew about Punk's return, and that's because they were able to trust each other with the secret. Plus, once you take a finger point picture with Triple H, it's blood in, blood out, nigga. You family until the next budget cuts. CM Punk bigged up DX when he said he had two words that came to mind when he returned, which ended up being "I'm home." Punk also seemed to honor fellow Clique member Scott Hall shortly after his return promo by saying, "I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money." This suggests CM Punk is gonna be a heel in the not too distant future, because a babyface feud between CM Punk and Seth Rollins would be awkward, and fans are gonna pick sides regardless. Punk's ice cold line was lifted from Scott Hall's famous quote during a WWE Monday Night War documentary. A quote Scott Hall learned from Jay Strongbow, who said you can either make friends or you can make money. Hall was like, "I already got some friends, I'd like the money." Punk finds himself in the same boat. Punk has plenty of friends: FTR, Ace Steel, Ricky Starks, Jade Cargill, Larry the Dog. Now he wants that Endeavor money. The return of Happy to Be Here Phil saw CM Punk talk up how the locker room had embraced him. He said a couple people even kissed him on the mouth. Who could that be? R-Truth? Chad Gable? Look at that face! Based on his history and recent allegations, my guess is Vince McMahon. AJ Lee definitely kisses CM Punk on the mouth, and Punk name drops his wife by saying she says hi. AJ Lee actually got a huge pop, and honestly, I do really hope this CM Punk run works out, but the legacy of this CM Punk run could be the return of AJ Lee. AJ Lee is still just 36. Trish Stratus is 47 and she was better than most of the roster this year. AJ Lee is shredded these days, and despite being the best talent of the Divas era, the women's roster wasn't nearly as deep as it is today. Think of all the feuds AJ Lee could have between WWE and NXT. Shit, if NXT wants to set a tone on the CW, look no further than AJ Lee. Punk shouted out Paul Heyman in a feud with Roman Reigns, who has dissed CM Punk in interviews. Assuming his body, mind, and spirit hold up, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns in WWE is pretty much inevitable. Punk repeated the words a wise man told him and made sure to mention the wise man one more time for good measure. Of course, Paul Heyman's nickname is the Wise Man, and given his history with CM Punk, WWE could just tell the Brock Lesnar-Roman Reigns story all over again, where Paul Heyman finds himself torn between two lovers. But before Punk gets to Roman, he'll have to face Seth Rollins. When Punk returned, Rollins threw a shit fit so convincing, a lot of the dirt sheets actually thought it was real. Rollins then called CM Punk a hypocrite this past Monday on Raw. Punk made a veiled response, saying that everybody was happy to see him back. Well, almost everybody. Seth Rollins is that almost everybody. We'll see you WrestleMania 40 Night 1 when Rollins retains. Punk also shouted out In Living Color, who do his theme music. One of the biggest clues that CM Punk was gonna make his WWE return was In Living Color randomly releasing a remastered version of Cult of Personality. During his Raw promo, Punk said that he was live and in living color. Then he stared directly into the camera just as they played the word, "Look in my eyes!" Some people were disappointed that CM Punk didn't take any shots at AEW, but those people just weren't paying attention. CM Punk referred to himself as the most feared and dangerous man, not in WWE, but in this industry. WWE typically doesn't script its talent to reference any outside promotions. Michael Cole is doing it more and more these days, but it still stands out when he does, because of how rare it is. Shit, Cole mentioned Jericho at Survivor Series and Twitter freaked out. But CM Punk calling himself the most dangerous man, quote, in this industry, end quote, was a reference to AEW fearing CM Punk, particularly Tony Khan, who literally feared for his life during Hurricane Phil at All In. Punk could have just called himself the most dangerous man in WWE, and that's all most talent would be able to get away with saying. But by referencing the entire industry, He was taking a shot at AEW and its fearful CEO, Tony Khan. Punk added one last parting shot at the Young Bucks after his promo when he did a victory lap around the ring. This was a clapback at the Young Bucks' victory lap in Chicago the night Punk was fired. The only difference is CM Punk has a job now and was running around in a sold-out arena, not an empty one. Check out the Pipe Bomb Problem CM Punk documentary streaming now and subscribe. What was your favorite Easter egg? Did I miss any? Tell me in the comments!